back here on the GSMC Football Podcast, and for all right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast, and for the final.
Keep yourself in the loop of everything football on the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast. The latest news on and off the field, be it college football, Big Ten, SEC, Big 12, Pac-12, ACC to the NFL. We've got you covered. Listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
And welcome everybody to another edition of the GSMC Football Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. As always, I'm your host, Kenneth Gruenfelder, and it's great to have you guys here on this Thursday, June 13th. We have a lot to talk about on the show today. Before I get into that, just want to remind you guys, as always, to tip or donate, get your comments recognized, make sure to go to the following link. That is gsmcpodcast.net. Again, that really helps the show, makes the show more interactive between myself, the host, and you guys, the viewers. Again, that is gsmcpodcast.net. And as always, it is displayed on the ticker at the bottom of the show segment down below. So, with that being said, let's get into what we are going to talk about for today. So, we're going to start off the show. We're going to talk about Tom Brady's Patriot Hall of Fame induction from last night. I'll give you my thoughts on it, my takeaways from what people had to say and things like that. He became, I believe it was the 35th member to be elected into the Patriots Hall of Fame, if I'm not mistaken. And it was also held on 6/12, 6 Super Bowls and his jersey number. So, so that was last night. So I'll give you my takeaways from that. Then in the second part of the show, I will continue my schedule breakdowns for each team in the NFL. And we have now moved on to the AFC, so we're going to be doing the AFC East. So today we'll be talking about the Bills' schedule. So I'll give you my early win-loss prediction for that. Then in the third part of the show, we will talk about Jordan Love and, kind of just an update on, his contract talks and if there's a possibility he can get it before training camp. So we'll get into that. Some comments he had to make. And then in the fourth part of the show, we'll talk about Russell Wilson, him feeling rejuvenated after joining the Steelers. So I'll get into that as well. And then the final part of the show, I'll kind of talk about the Ravens and their perspective on Derrick Henry and the kind of workload that he can get. Some comments made by Roquan Smith about Derrick Henry and the production that he can have this year. So that's kind of the rundown. So let's get into the first topic, which is talking about last night, Tom Brady being inducted into the Patriots Hall of Fame. So I tried to skim through the video because the entire ceremony was on YouTube. And it was weird because while I was watching it, and I did speed it up because it was a 4.5 hour ceremony. While I was watching it, it cut off and it said this video is now private. So they took down, the Patriots YouTube account took down the video. So then I was watching Bill Belichick. Somebody else posted Belichick's speech and Brady's speech. So I was able to watch the rest of it there. But it was just kind of weird how that ended up happening. So yeah, I did watch pretty much the whole thing. But again, I sped it up so I was, because I wasn't going to sit there and, watch the entire thing for 4.5 hours. And on top of that, it was, 10 o'clock at night, my time. So, I'm not going to be up till 2 a.m. watching that. But, because, again, we're still in the off season. So, you got to get creative with things. And this is something that came up. So I wanted to talk about it. But anyways, I'm, spending more time on how I was watching it as opposed to the actual content itself. And it was a nice ceremony, and you had a lot of former Patriots there. There were a lot of tribute videos for Brady, and it was very different compared to, and they made jokes about that, very different compared to a couple weeks ago with the roast. Um, but yeah, you had surprise guest of Peyton Manning was there. I thought it was funny how with the tribute videos, I mean, you had Ray Lewis, Charles Woodson, you had all the broadcasters, Jim Nantz and Chris Berman, Joe Buck, Al Michaels. You had all these guys doing tribute videos, but I thought it was funny every time they showed Mahomes and they showed Eli Manning, and the crowd just because this was held in Gillette Stadium, the crowd booed very loudly for both of those guys. So I thought that was funny, but yeah, I mean, listen, it was. I thought, like I said, I thought it was a good ceremony. You had, former teammates speaking very positively about Tom Brady and just the kind of player he was, and talking about how, that's the guy you wanted to have. One thing that I thought was emphasized is that's the guy you wanted to have in the fourth quarter. Peyton talked about it, how I think he was saying how, like, Tony Dungy was like, listen, you got to make sure that we have the ball right now, make sure that you don't give Tom Brady any time. I think it was, I don't know what game they were talking about, but just make sure that, Brady does not, there was like a minute and 35 seconds left. I don't know, something like that. He's like, Tony Dungy's like, make sure Brady does not have time left on the clock to go back down the field. Because that's, what Brady was at his when Brady was at his best is just, if he had time on the clock to go down the field and win the game, he was going to do it most of the time. And that's what made him great. And not only that, just also another thing too was just, yeah, he might have been a pain for some people. I mean, Gronk talked about it, how he kind of hated Brady his rookie season, but at the same time, they knew that Brady wanted the best out of his players. And, even if you thought you were a rookie, like Devin McCourty talked about how Brady, introduced himself. He said, Devin, we're happy to have you. Like, he tried to get to know his teammates. And, there's just a lot of things that they said that they really spoke highly of Brady. And that's why, he has 7 Super Bowls. And he just, worked at, he was a competitor. And also the other thing, too, is I wanted to bring up was Randy Moss getting that huge ovation. Got very emotional about it. I mean, him and Brady did a lot together in those few years that he was in New England. And, of course, the 2007 season, they were special together. And they didn't win the Super Bowl, of course, but that was one of the best teams ever. And, yeah, they didn't win a Super Bowl, but they're still going to go down in history as one of the best teams of all time. And then also Bill Belichick, he got a huge ovation too. And he told an interesting story about him and Brady playing golf, which I didn't think would come up, but I thought that was a little funny if you were able to catch that. But yeah, Belichick got a huge ovation. And listen, I know things kind of ended sour, and losing his final game as the Patriots head coach, losing to the Jets. But at the end of the day, what Tom Brady and Bill Belichick were able to do for 20 plus years, or for 20 years, that's probably never going to be repeated. I mean, I know, and I've brought this up, Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, they have 3 Super Bowls right now, but right now, they're not close yet to that. And whether you liked the Patriots or not, and believe me, there were plenty of times where I rooted against the Patriots. There is a level of appreciation that you have for that, that you were able to witness greatness. And, now that it's over, you could sit back and say that. I mean, at the time, you're like, yeah, I can't wait for this to be over. I mean, especially for, fans of teams that had to go against Brady for years and just are tired of seeing him constantly in the Super Bowl and all that. It's just, there is a level of appreciation for it, what they were able to accomplish together. And I think, whatever drama they had behind the scenes, I mean, that's, you could throw that out the window and just appreciate the good times, because they won a lot together. And the Patriot fans, they were probably done with Belichick, but they gave him his flowers last night with that ovation, because it went on for a while. Brady and Belichick meant a lot to each other. They helped each other succeed. Now, some people say it was more Brady, or most people say it's more Brady, which I'd probably lean towards at this point, just because of, Brady going to Tampa and winning a Super Bowl, and Belichick, what ended up happening with the Patriots after Brady left. But they both helped each other out. And, yeah, I mean, they're going to go down in history as, the greatest, head coach quarterback duo, in most people's eyes. So, but yeah, I mean, they throw out the bad times and, just remember the good. Really, that's what it comes down to. But, yeah, I mean, listen, it was a special night for Tom Brady, his family. It was good to see his parents, because I know they've been through a lot. And just for the Patriot fans, and again, this is a New York guy talking about, Boston. But, I mean, again, he deserves it. He does. And, it's, he's one of those guys that you grew up watching for a long time. And, now he's going to be a broadcaster. So we'll see how that goes. I think he's going to do okay. But we'll have to wait and see. But, yeah, I mean, he's got a lot of stuff going on. But, yeah, I mean, it was kind of weird not seeing him last year for the first time, in my life, that Tom Brady's not on the field. But, yeah, I mean, it was going to happen eventually, And it's just kind of funny how yesterday I was talking about Aaron Rodgers not going to minicamp, and just, all the drama surrounding that, people making a big deal out of it. And then you got Tom Brady being, inducted into the Patriots Hall of Fame. So, but like I said, whether you like him or not, Brady does deserve it. Had a great career. And, yeah, I mean, to be honest, yeah, he's going to, I kind of do miss seeing him play, just because, again, it's someone that you watch for a long time. You miss seeing him play, Peyton Manning, Breeze, Eli, Big Ben, all those guys. I mean, Rodgers is eventually going to retire, which is going to be sad. That it's a changing of the guard, man. We got all these young quarterbacks now. We're in good hands. It's just, it's upsetting kind of seeing, guys you grew up watching, slowly but surely leaving. So, but, yeah, congratulations to Tom Brady on being inducted into the Patriots Hall of Fame. Again, it was a great ceremony. But let me know what you guys think. What were your takeaways from it? Again, I mean, could spend an hour talking about this, but we only got 12 minutes really for this. So, but yeah, let me know what you guys think. Some of your takeaways from it. So with that, we're going to take our first break of the show, and then when we come back, we'll talk about the Bills' schedule for next season, and I'll give you my early win-loss predictions for them. So with that being said, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown. Get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits. Some losing shit, a stupid myth. You choose to live or choose to dip. You choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift. Oh.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind?
All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the second part of the show, we are going to talk about the Buffalo Bills. I will break down their schedule for 2024, and I'll give you my early win-loss prediction for them. So the Bills, they had a second-half run last year. They got the 2 seed in the AFC, and then they beat the Steelers in the first round, and then they lost to the Chiefs in the second round. So this is their schedule, and they got a tough schedule. So let's get into that. Let's see, what I give them here. And again, I just want to emphasize, we're only in June. We're almost halfway through June. We basically are. So it's very early, and look, it's just, again, something else for us to talk about, but let's get into it now. So actually, we did do the Cardinals yesterday, so we're gonna pick up where we left off, I guess, if you want to say that. Week 1, Cardinals take on the Bills. So again, I said yesterday this is kind of a toss-up game. I guess because the Bills are at home, I'll take them here. So they start off 1-0, but again, I could see the Cardinals winning the game as well, but I'll give the win to the Bills. Now the Dolphins, it's going to be interesting. The Bills did sweep the season series last year. The Dolphins, they probably should have won. Well, I shouldn't say that, but they had a chance to win the second game, and that was the Week 18 matchup. But when they played in Buffalo, the Bills, what was the final score? It was like 48-20. The Bills dominated. But yeah, I don't really know what to expect, from this new receiving core. Like, how is Josh Allen and this receiving core going to be? Now, Josh Allen is a top 5 quarterback, and I think they'll be fine. But I know some people are down on the Bills just because of they lost guys on defense, which they did, and also trading away Stephon Diggs. But I feel like the Diggs loss is not going to be as impactful as maybe some people may think. But yeah, Week 2 against the Dolphins. This is a Thursday night game. It's a toss-up for me. I'm going to say the Dolphins do win. So the Bills drop to 1-1. Then the Jags come in. And the Jags are looking to redeem themselves from last year. I think this is a Monday night game, if I'm not mistaken. But I'm going to take the Bills here. And I'm going to say they get revenge because if you remember, these two teams did play in London last year. But I'm going to take the Bills here. So the Bills are going to improve to 2-1. But then this is where this 3-game stretch right here, this is going to be tough because they take on the Ravens. That's a Sunday night game. Then they take on the Texans in Houston, and then they take on the Jets. These are tough games right here. The Bills could very well lose all 3 of these games. I'm going to say they do lose to the Ravens. The Texans game is going to be tough. Stephon Diggs is going to, Stephon Diggs definitely has this game circled on his calendar. It's tough. I think the Texans are going to be really good this year. That is a toss-up for me. I don't know if it's really a toss-up, but I think I'm going to take the Texans. I'm going to say the Texans do win. But again, we don't know. We got to see how these teams are playing at this point. Well, it would only be week 5, but anyways, I'll take the Texans to win. So Bills drop to 2-3. Then they take on the Jets. I don't know. The Bills really going to lose 3 in a row? Again, they're all away games. Yeah, it's going to be that Jets defense does play well against Josh Allen. I'm going to say that the Bills do lose this game. So I have them losing 3 in a row. So right now, at this point, what do I have them at? 2-4? Yeah, so not looking good right now at the moment. Then I have them winning again. The Titans, I'm going to say they win that game. They get back on track. Against Seattle, that's going to be a tough game in that environment, but I'm going to give the Bills the win there. I think they'll split with the Dolphins, so I'll pick them there. So now they lost 3 in a row. Now they won 3 in a row. So now they're 5-4 at this point. Then they take on the Colts. The Colts game is an interesting game with Anthony Richardson back. This one's a toss-up for me here. I'm going to say the Bills win that one, so they continue that winning streak. Then they take on the Kansas City Chiefs. And listen, the Chiefs may own the Bills in the regular season, or in the postseason, but the Bills own the Chiefs in the regular season. So I'm going to say the Bills get their revenge, and they win this game here. Valdez-Scantling is going to catch a game-winning touchdown. No, I don't know. I'm just saying that, just because now he's on the Bills. But yeah, so the Bills continue to roll here. Then they take on the 49ers. Interesting game. I think I had the Niners winning. I think that, the Niners, I think, it's going to be a tough game. It's on the road, late in the season. It's going to be cold. That's when it's going to start getting cold. But I'm going to say the Niners do win that game. And then we get to the Rams and the Lions. So I'm going to say the Bills win at least one of these games. I think they're going to split. They're going to win one of them, and they're going to lose one of them. I'm going to say they beat the Rams, and then I'll have them lose to the Lions. Then they got the Patriots 2 of the last 3 weeks. Now, the Patriots did win a game against the Bills last year. I think Gesicki caught the go-ahead touchdown for Mac Jones late in that game. I'm going to say the Bills sweep the Patriots. And then I have them winning against the Jets. I have them splitting against the Jets. So I know it didn't look good because I had them losing 3 in a row, but I do have them finishing the season strong. So what do I have them at? I got them winning against the Cardinals, splitting against the Dolphins, beating the Jags, the Titans, the Seahawks, the Chiefs, the Colts, one of the Lions-Rams games, both games against the Patriots. So 10-11 wins for the Bills. And that's good enough to probably make a wild card. But yeah, I mean they got a lot of tough games. I mean that week 4 to week 6, that's tough. I mean then you got a bye week in between it, but you got the Chiefs and then you come off the bye against the Niners. So maybe that, and then you got the Rams after that, the Lions, Jets late in the year. You got the Dolphins twice, the Colts, the Jags. Could be tough games. Because I mean right now I don't really look at the Bills as a powerhouse team at the moment. I mean, they got a powerhouse quarterback, but, the receivers, let's see how they gel with Josh Allen, and they got 2 good tight ends, James Cook, let's see what kind of season he has. They really were running the football effectively last year with him. I mean, again, I think back to that monster game he had against the Cowboys, but yeah, I think the Bills are going to be good. They're still going to be good. Let's not write them off like they're going to be this terrible team. But, yeah, they got some tough games. And, I think as long as they got Josh Allen, they're going to be in the thick of it. So, but I kind of got to, do these schedules how I had the rankings. So the Bills are going to be in second. So I had the Dolphins at 3. So we're going to do the Dolphins schedule tomorrow and, kind of see what record I'll give them. But, yeah, the Bills, 10-11 wins. I think that's doable. But we'll see. We got a long way to go. And, I think Josh Allen is going to want to prove something to some of his doubters now without, now with no Stephon Diggs anymore. I mean, that receiving core it's going to be interesting. You got the rookie wide receiver Keon Coleman, who I forgot to mention, in a segment that I was talking about the Bills. You got him. You got Curtis Samuel, Khalil Shakir, Valdez-Scantling, Chase Claypool, Matt Collins. Also Justin Shorter as well, another guy. So we'll see. And then you got the tight ends. We'll see how it goes. But that's what I think. Bills, 10-11 wins. I think that's doable for them. So we'll see if they can get that. Let me know what you guys think, though. How many games do you think the Bills will win in 2024? So before we go to break, just want to remind you guys once again, to tip or donate, get your comments recognized, make sure to go to the following link. That is GSMCpodcast.net. Again, that really helps the show, makes the show more interactive between myself, the host, and you guys, the viewers. Again, that is gsmcpodcast.net. And as always, it is displayed on the ticker at the bottom of the show segment down below. So, we're going to take our second break of the show. And when we come back, we'll talk about Jordan Love, some comments he made, give you an update on his contract extension talks. So stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.
Looking for your daily fix of sports talk without having to pay for it? GSMC Sports Network is available on YouTube. Just search GSMC Sports Network. Get your fix of daily sports talk shows on YouTube, absolutely free. NFL, college football, NBA, MLB, MMA, UFC, fantasy football, and so much more. GSMC Sports Network has shows running all day long, with new sports shows starting every 2 hours. Just like on your favorite cable sports channel, except GSMC Sports Network is absolutely free. Just search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube to catch one of your new favorite shows, like the GSMC College Football Podcast, Chip Shot Football Podcast, Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, GSMC Basketball Podcast, and so many more. Check it out for yourself. GSMC Sports Network, now available on YouTube absolutely free. Search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube right now.
All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the third part of the show, we are going to talk about Jordan Love, just some updates, on his contract extension talks. I mean, nothing has been finalized yet, but just some comments that Jordan Love made. He's optimistic about a long-term contract extension being finalized before training camp on July 22nd. He mentioned how his agent has kept him informed, and he feels encouraged on the process. Also, Brian Gutekunst, he expressed optimism about completing the extension before training camp. Both the team and Love are keen on finalizing the extension soon. And I just wanted to go through, what he had to say specifically pertaining to, Jordan Love, what he had to say. So they just talked about, he was asked, could things heat up once the Packers minicamp is completed? And he said, yeah, I think they should. And then also, Brian Gutekunst had to say, we'd like to get this done before training camp for sure. Both parties want to get a contract extension done. And this is also what Love had to say. The main thing for me is this is just to, stuff he's working on in the offseason. He said, the main thing for me is understanding where to go with the ball, always making the right decision, not forcing the ball downfield and trying to fit it in certain windows, things like that. Just process and understanding where I need to go with the ball, and then pocket movement. Making smaller movements in the pocket, not being so quick to try to get out of there, but to stay in the pocket and try and find those receivers downfield. That's something I've been working on. Also throwing on the move, going right, being able to get my shoulders downfield, my body downhill, and not being drifting away from the throw. Let's see if there's anything else. No, so that's pretty much it on what he had to say. Again, with the contract, seems like things are moving in a positive direction, and just talking about things that he wants to work on as well. But yeah, I mean, listen, I when I made an appearance on Manny's show, the Chip Shot Football Podcast, I spoke very highly of Jordan Love. I've been speaking very highly of Jordan Love for a while now, and he made big strides last year. I mean, compared to where he was in the middle of the season, where many people just were like, yeah, this is not the guy, and Packers went on a run, then gave Packer fans a little bit of a scare when, they dropped back-to-back games against the Giants and the Buccaneers, but then they were able to right the ship and make the playoffs. Jordan Love played really well, and I think he's going to go out there and he's going to have a good year once again. And the things that he talked about that he has to improve on, because I think back to that last play that the Packers had against the Niners where Love rolled out and he tried to throw the ball across his body to Christian Watson and then got intercepted by Fred Warner. Dre Greenlaw. Dre Greenlaw intercepted it. And I mean, they were both going after it, but Dre Greenlaw caught it. Yeah, that was, I mean, some of his decision-making, he's got to work on that. But, I mean, for Packer fans, you'll take it. Compared to where you were in the middle of the season to how you finished and the fact that you won a playoff game in Dallas and Jordan Love played flawless, and then you go to the 49ers and, you had him on the ropes. You could take that. You'll take that going to next season. And listen, I think this team is going to be really good. And if Jordan Love can make even bigger strides in year 2 of being the full-time starter, yeah, this team is going to win a lot of games. And, I think he deserves to get paid. I mean, I know it's 1 year, but you got to remember, Brian Gutekunst, talked about how, there was like that stretch of games where like, this is a big stretch because this is going to show us whether Jordan Love is going to get paid or not, or if he's going to be our guy or not. And Jordan Love went out there and played really well. I think one of the signature wins on the season was, obviously beating the Chiefs on Sunday Night Football in Lambeau. He played really well. I mean, that's the team to beat. And, the Chiefs, I know they struggled during the regular season, but still, I mean, any win against the Chiefs is huge. And Jordan Love played really well in that game. And like I said, just played well down the stretch. And I think he's the guy. He did sit behind Aaron Rodgers for quite some time. He did learn a thing or two, and that showed. I mean, look at how he was the first time he played against the Chiefs. I mean, the Packers only put up 7 points. Now, it was a tough spot for him. Rodgers, obviously, was out because of COVID. And, I mean, you're playing in Arrowhead on the road. Yeah, I mean, that's tough. That's a tough spot to get thrown into. But, yeah, compared to where he was then to where he's at now, he's a completely different quarterback. And, the Packers got their next guy. You go from Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers, and now it looks like Jordan Love is, the next one. And we'll see what he could do. And it's going to be a lot of fun, watching the NFC North this year with the Lions and how they are. There's excitement with the Bears, and, we'll see how the Vikings are, but it's going to be a fun division. And I think it's going to come down to the Lions and the Packers for the division. And we'll have to see. But, yeah, Jordan Love, get your money. Because, he, like I said, he definitely deserves it. And I know I've done some Packers segments, and talking about the offense and how, last year it was a learning process. Now it's, all right, how can we get better? And, you're hoping for a healthier year out of Christian Watson because I think when he's healthy, he arguably is the best receiver on the team. And then you got the other young guys and Dontavian Wicks and Jaden Reed and Romeo Doubs. I like this Packers team a lot. And then you got Josh Jacobs coming out of the backfield now. I like this Packers offense. They're going to put up points. And a lot of that has to do with the quarterback. And it's going to be interesting because I think Jordan Love it seems like he's going to be the next guy that's going to get paid. Because you also have Trevor Lawrence that's looking for a new deal. Tua's looking for a new deal. Dak's looking for a new deal. But I think Dak, he's probably going to get a new deal elsewhere. I think Jordan Love, the way it seems right now, it's going to be him. Then I guess Trevor Lawrence probably soon after that, because I know the Jags are pushing for a new deal with Trevor Lawrence. And then Tua after that, and then Dak. Yeah, you're probably going to get your new deal elsewhere. The way it's going. So, but yeah, I mean, I think Jordan Love, out of that group, I mean, you could probably say Dak is, some people are going to say Dak is better than Jordan Love. I think that Jordan Love is probably the best quarterback out of those 4 guys. I know Dak has, he had a good season last year and he was an MVP candidate. I understand that, but right now, maybe it's recency bias. I don't know what it is, but I would take Jordan Love over Dak. I think Jordan Love is better than Dak Prescott. I think Jordan Love is the best out of that group that needs to get paid. That is looking to get paid. I think then I'd probably put Dak second, and then it's kind of a toss up between Tua and Trevor Lawrence. I kind of like Trevor Lawrence better. I am not really that big on Tua, but that's just me. That's my opinion. So, but yeah, I think Jordan Love out of that group, those guys that are looking for new deals, I think Jordan Love, he's going to be the one that gets paid first, and then we go from there. So, but yeah, he's going to make a lot of money, and we'll see what kind of contract he gets when that eventually comes out. And of course, when it does happen, we will talk about it. So yeah, this was kind of just, there wasn't really like a massive update, but we're seeing progress. It seems like we're moving in the right direction when it comes to Jordan Love. So, like I said, when he gets that new deal, we'll talk about it. So, yeah, let me know what you guys think about Jordan Love. What kind of season do you think he is going to have in 2024? So, we're going to take our next break. And then when we come back, we'll talk about another quarterback. We'll talk about Russell Wilson. Just some comments he made, how he feels rejuvenated with Pittsburgh. And I'll talk about that and give you my thoughts when we come back from our next break. So, with that being said, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC to access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.
And we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the fourth part of the show, we're going to talk about Russell Wilson and just some recent comments he made about, feeling rejuvenated with the Steelers. And I'll give you my thoughts on what he had to say and, what kind of season that I think, he's going to have, which I've kind of talked about already, but we'll get into it again. So this is what Russell Wilson had to say. He said, "Man, I feel the fountain of youth. I feel revived in every way, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. I feel confident. I think at some point you have to know who you are as a player, as a man, as a competitor, as somebody who's been fortunate to be able to play this game. I don't doubt it. I trust it. I felt really good last year playing. I felt really confident in the midst of everything. And so I think right now I have all that confidence times 10. And then Arthur Smith had some comments, I guess, on the QB competition between him and Justin Fields. He said Russ is in the pole position. He also said it's a competition. Obviously, we get to training camp. I'm sure things will heat up, but both those guys knew that, however, they were required, and they got here, and I think it's been pretty transparent. It's still early in the process. But reports out of Pittsburgh suggest, this is from the article on NFL.com, Russ looks more like his Seattle self than the one we saw in Denver the past 2 years. But we'll see how true that is. And I just realized my camera decided to turn off on me. Look at that. I don't even know what happened. I guess I knocked into the wire. But yeah, so that's interesting stuff. But I know some people did talk about how, Russ was confident going into Denver, and look at how that ended. So I guess, people are kind of expecting more of the same. See, I am still kind of expecting more of the same when it comes to Russ in Pittsburgh. I think we're going to get the Russ from Denver. Now, last year he was decent. However you want to look at it, I know you could say, well, there was a lot of checkdowns, and, it's just, you couldn't really see the middle of the field. But I thought Russ played okay. His numbers were decent. He definitely was better under Sean Payton. I think he is in a better situation with Pittsburgh. And I think he'll play okay. But I don't know. For me, I'm not really that high on Russ, going out there and, reliving the glory days like he did in Seattle and, playing up to that level. Now, if he does, well, that's a different conversation, because then it's like, okay, well, if you're getting the Russell Wilson from Seattle, this is going to be a dangerous team. And I think this still can be a dangerous team specifically because of their defense. Because when we think of the Steelers, lately we've kind of been thinking about their defense. Well, I'm just saying recently, because their offense just has been, we want to see more out of the offense. The days of the killer bees are behind us. That's the last time the Steelers won a playoff game. And I think Russell Wilson can win a playoff game for the Steelers. I think he can. But I'm not really that confident in that happening. And you also got Justin Fields, and maybe we'll see Justin Fields this year. Right now, Russ has a stronghold on the starting job, but I think at the same time, he does have a very short leash. If he struggles, if the Steelers are, reeling a little bit, they're going to make the change and they're going to put in Fields. So I think Russell Wilson's got to realize that. And the other thing, too, is, this could be his last shot to prove that he could still be a starting quarterback in the NFL. Otherwise, you might be, a backup. So, and I think either way, I think Russ could still win games, but I don't know if he's going to be winning big games, like playoff games. But we'll see. And, the Steelers, it was interesting how they kind of just, the whole quarterback situation, like it's changed. Because, the quarterback room, because last year you had, Kenny Pickett, Mitchell Trubisky, Mason Rudolph. None of those guys are there. You got a whole new quarterback room. Because I honestly thought, after last year, I thought it was going to be Kenny Pickett, Mason Rudolph, run it back, battle it out for the starting job. Because you had teammates coming out and talking about Mason Rudolph and, advocating for him. But, no, that's not the case. Mason Rudolph's now with the Titans, Trubisky's with the Bills, and Kenny Pickett got traded to the Eagles. And he's probably going to be a backup for the rest of his career. I don't know if he's going to get another shot. But now you got Russ, and you got Justin Fields. So it's going to be interesting. That first game of the year for the Steelers, it's going to be them against the Falcons. You got Kirk Cousins making his first start as the new Falcons quarterback, and you got Russell Wilson making his first start as the new Steelers quarterback. And then on top of that, you have Arthur Smith, who used to be the head coach of the Falcons. He's going to be with the Steelers as the offensive coordinator. And I think as the offensive coordinator, I think he'll be better in that role, but we'll see. I mean, the Steelers, too, they put an emphasis on the offensive line, and because that's been kind of a problem in recent years, towards the end of Big Ben's career, because he had guys retiring and leaving in free agency, and now they're trying to, better that, because that helps, of course, the quarterback. But you also have the running game, too, because the Steelers' running game, if the offensive line is better, the running game's going to really benefit from that, because the running game was good down the stretch, too, with Jalen Warren and Najee Harris. So, I think the Steelers are going to be decent. I know... Listen, in our production meeting, the Steelers were a topic of conversation. And do have a couple of Steelers fans on the network here. And look, my dad is a Steelers fan. And for him, I want to see the Steelers do well. But we did have one of them say in the production meeting that they think the Steelers could finish in second place. Now, I think that's a little bit of a stretch. Because I think with the healthy Joe Burrow back in the fold, I don't think the Steelers are finishing in second place. It's going to be between the Bengals and the Ravens for the division, if Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow are healthy. Can I see the Steelers finishing ahead of the Browns? Yes, but I'm not going to pick that. Right now I have the Steelers ranked 4th. However, this is the toughest division in football. The Steelers the Steelers split with the Browns last year. They won the first game in Pittsburgh, but then they lost in Cleveland. I could see the Steelers finishing in 3rd, but I'm not going to go 2nd. But I also don't agree with, the Steelers are bad. Because, look, you got Mike Tomlin, you got this defense. This team is going to be competitive. Now, the AFC North has, they all have tough schedules, but I think the Steelers, they'll find a way, to win 9 games, and maybe they find themselves in the playoffs again. But they are going to need some help, unless we see Russell Wilson turn back the clock. So, but he's got confidence. I hope my dog doesn't start barking because she was laying outside my door. Now she just got up. Up there it is, right there. I said it. Did I not say it? Look, Russ. Let's see, what he can do. We'll see what kind of motivation he says. He feels like he's 35. Feels like he's 25. But yeah, if we see the Russ from Seattle, that, like I said, we're gonna have a whole new conversation. Because, the Russ from Seattle, he was, top 10 quarterback. Right now he's, outside the top 10, might be, top 15, maybe. I don't even know. I have to do my own ranking, but yeah, he's not a top 10 quarterback anymore. But let's see how he plays this year. The Steelers got decent weapons. Let's see how George Pickens is with, consistent quarterback play, and you got Pat Freiermuth, and we'll see what they get from some of their other younger receivers. Roman Wilson they drafted, Calvin Austin, another young receiver they have. It's going to be an interesting year for the Steelers. So let's see what ends up happening. But yeah, I'm expecting more of the Russ from Denver, but maybe he proves us wrong. And I know there's people out there that are hoping that, Russ kind of proves the doubters wrong. Because, a lot of people just, bashed him in Denver. Just like the goofy stuff with the, Broncos country and all that. The Mr. Unlimited stuff. Yeah, the thing is, I never really thought about I never really realized how, at times Russell Wilson was really cringy, if you want to say. Because, yeah, the Mr. Unlimited video is it's funny, but it's a little cringe, as the kids will say. But yeah, listen, if it went well, that Broncos country let's ride stuff, that would not have been made into a meme. But because it just went so badly, that's why it ended up happening. So, but yeah, let me know what you guys think, though. Is Russ going to turn back the clock? Are we going to see the Russ from Seattle, or are we going to see the Russ from Denver? Who knows? Or maybe we're going to see something in between that. I will say, though, maybe it's because doing franchises in Madden for many years, and if I was the Steelers, I would draft Russell Wilson. He does. The Steelers uniform does suit him. He does look good in the black and gold. But it's not a fashion it's not a fashion contest. You got to go out there and win football games. So yeah, he might look good in the uniform, but if he doesn't play well in the uniform, well, it doesn't really matter. But yeah, let me know what you guys think, though, about Russ. What kind of season you think he's going to have? So we're going to take our final break. When we come back, we'll talk about Derrick Henry. Raven, some comments on Derrick Henry, what kind of season he can have with the Ravens. So that's what we'll do when we come back from our final break. So with that being said, stick around, And we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the final part of the show, we are going to talk about Derrick Henry, the Ravens' perspective on what kind of workload Derrick Henry's going to have this upcoming season. So just some things that John Harbaugh had to say, also Roquan Smith as well. So this is what Harbaugh had to say. He said, I watched the wear and tear that he put on defenses, ours included. He's in great shape. He's a stickler for detail, and he's moving really well. Roquan Smith said he doesn't have on his pads, so this isn't his strong suit. It's more so when he puts those pads on that he becomes that demon. He's a lot of tread left on that tire. So, yeah, I mean, you know, Derrick Henry, of course, he's now 30. And, yeah, I mean, when you're 30 and, you know, you're not playing football, yeah, you're still, you know, young. But, you know, in football years, yeah, 30 is, for a running back especially, that's old. But he's going to get a heavy workload. Now, it's going to help that you also have a dual threat quarterback that you're going to be playing with that is also going to, you know, take some of that workload off of you. You're not going to have – you're going to be – I don't know how to put it. Lamar Jackson's still the guy, of course, because he's the quarterback. As in Tennessee, Derrick Henry was the guy. You know, Ryan Tannehill's not going to – I mean, there have been times where Ryan Tannehill, like, faked it and would run it in for a touchdown. But with Lamar Jackson, it's going to be different. That is going to be a nightmare for defenses, having to deal with Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry in the same backfield, which is one of the fascinating things that I'm looking forward to this upcoming season. And we get to see them right off the bat. We get to see them play the Chiefs in Arrowhead. It's going to be a lot of fun. But yeah, I mean, you look at, last season, Derrick Henry still had 1,100 yards rushing, 1,167 rushing yards. He had 12 rushing touchdowns. He had 280 carries. I mean, the previous season, he had 349 carries. He had 1,538 rushing yards and 13 touchdowns. 2020 was when he had that 2,000-yard rushing season, 17 rushing touchdowns. But yeah, I mean, I think, they're going to want to at least keep him fresh a little bit. Because I think they still have Justice Hill. Keaton Mitchell, he's working his way back. The young running back they had last year, he unfortunately tore his ACL late in the season. I mean, you got the other two guys, Dobbins and Gus Edwards. They're out in L.A. now. I think it would have been sick if they had Gus Edwards still. You had the King, and then you had the Gus bus in the same backfield, but we unfortunately didn't get that. I think that would have been cool, but anyways, because yeah, you can have Derrick Henry there, taking the direct snap and handing it off to the Gus bus for a touchdown. I don't know, but yeah, so I think that's the Ravens' backfield at the moment. You got Justice Hill and Keaton Mitchell behind Derrick Henry. So yeah, I mean the Ravens, and then on top of that, like I said, you got Lamar Jackson, who's going to be, carrying the ball as well at times. So, yeah, I mean, Derrick Henry is going to get, a break here or there. But, yeah, so Justice Hill's the number 2 back on the depth chart, and then you got Keaton Mitchell, who, again, is still working his way back from injury. But, the Ravens are going to air it out a little bit, too. Zay Flowers was a good player for them last year. They just paid Rashawn Bateman got a new deal. Aguilar was decent for them, and then you got the 2 tight ends as well, Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely. Look, and then you got the defense. I mean, this Ravens team is going to be good again in 2024. What's held them back the last couple of years is, well, excluding last year because Lamar Jackson was healthy. But, yeah, it's Lamar Jackson's health. The previous season they did make the playoffs, but, you had Tyler Huntley starting. And then the year before that, I mean, they were having a good year, and then Lamar Jackson got hurt. When Lamar Jackson's healthy, the Ravens usually make the playoffs. I mean, that's basically happened every single year that he's been healthy. It's all about getting to that big game. And can Derrick Henry be a difference maker in this offense? And I believe he can. But yeah, I think because he's a big guy, and there's still some tread left on the tires, as Roquan Smith said, or whatever he said. I don't know if I misquoted him there, but yeah, I mean, he's got some gas left in the tank, even with him being at 30. And I think the Ravens was one of the best situations, if not the best situation, to end up in. Because this team loves to run the football. This is a good team. And I think he's going to do well with the Ravens. So, I mean, could he be a difference in them beating the Chiefs or not? I mean, the Ravens did only run the ball 6 times in the AFC Championship game. And I think if they would have stuck to that, maybe we have a different conversation. But there was also some other plays in that game that, Zay Flowers fumbling, Lamar Jackson throwing an interception into triple coverage. I think if you run the football a little bit more, maybe we're having a different conversation. I think it's just they thought, oh man, we gotta keep up with the Chiefs. But the defense kept the Ravens in the game. And, I think they kind of panicked a little bit. But I mean, if you got Derrick Henry on your team and you're playing the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game again, you better not be giving him the ball 6 times. Now, if they're losing by a significant margin, that's different because, then you got to play catch-up. But if the Ravens are playing a tight game where they could still run the football and they're not playing catch-up, yeah, you got to feed the king. So, and they're going to be feeding the king a lot. But like I said, you want to keep him fresh, because he is 30 now. You don't want to lose him. Don't want to lose him. But yeah, you still got Lamar Jackson, and you know what? Look, the Ravens, they're a team that has dealt with injuries a lot over the last several years. I mean, their backfield, Gus Edwards, J.K. Dobbins got hurt. I think Gus missed some time, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, there was that one year where you had Latavius Murray and Devontae Freeman, because, Gus Edwards, Justice Hill, and J.K. all got hurt. So they had to put together this backfield with, veteran guys. And Lamar Jackson was still having a good year. It's just then he got hurt. They've dealt with injuries to their backfield, to their quarterback. But, I think if something were to happen to Derrick Henry, I think it wouldn't be the end of the world because you still got Lamar Jackson and, the Ravens are still a very good team. So I think they'd be able to deal with that. But let's hope that doesn't happen. So, really, like, the only time Derrick Henry, I think, got hurt was that when I was looking at his stats, it was the 2021 season when he had the, I believe it was the foot injury. Other than that, he's been healthy. He doesn't really get hurt. at least in recent years. So, but yeah, I mean, I'm expecting him to have a good year. Again, this is going to be one of the fascinating things to keep an eye on is Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson in the same backfield. Because, yeah, I mean, if you're at the goal line, it's like, all right, is Lamar Jackson going to fake it and take it in himself, or is Derrick Henry taking it right up the middle? What's going to happen? It's going to be tough. That's something that defenses are going to have to, figure out. So, it might be almost impossible to stop. But yeah, we'll see what happens. Derrick Henry, he's going to get a big workload. But at the same time, I think they're going to be responsible and, keep him fresh. And, if they want to put, Justice Hill in and, let him, play a series. Well, I don't know. We'll see. We got a long way to go here. But, yeah, that's pretty much it for the show for today. Thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure to check out all the other shows on the network. Last night, the Celtics won Game 3 of the NBA Finals, so that series looks like that's on its way to being a sweep or a gentleman's sweep. The Stanley Cup Finals, right now the Panthers are up 2-0 over the Oilers, so maybe the Stanley Cup can kind of salvage these championships here, and maybe we get a competitive series there, because that could be a gentleman's sweep as well. The way the Panthers are playing. I mean, I haven't really been paying attention, but the Panthers are, from what I hear, the Panthers are really good. I mean, they made it to the Stanley Cup. They're really good. But yeah, and then of course you got baseball in full swing, as well. But yeah, make sure to give all the other shows some love. And yeah, so with that is all the time that we have for today. Once again, thank you guys for tuning in. We'll be back again tomorrow, same time, 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time. And until then, I'm Kenneth Grunfelder signing off from the GSMC Football Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. Have a good day, and I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Take care.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. Yeah, I'm tired of shit, and the coffee ain't hit yet, damn it.